Yes, that's correct. And I'm sure that I'm not the only person that experiences this. I imagine anyone on the line who does recruiting, there's just oftentimes an influx of applications for a position. And Glassdoor actually has some statistics, some estimates out there. The average job tends to see about 250 applications. That is a large pool that ultimately is going to get narrowed down to maybe a handful of people that you're actually interviewing. And at the end of the day, at the end of the recruiting process, it's really just one or a few people that you're actually making an offer to. So filtering out the noise is pretty critical in the recruiting process so that you can, again, focus on the candidate experience and the candidate experience with the right candidates. So as much as possible, we try to focus. Go ahead, Scott. Sorry about that.
Sorry, no, yeah, keep going.
So as much as possible, we really try to focus on this next slide here, which is ultimately to quickly and effectively filter through unqualified candidates. The challenge, again, is to get through that large number applications and to really focus on the right candidates and the right applications. And that ultimately will help you sort of bring to the surface those candidates and profiles that you really want to focus on. I'll also call out here that this has really been helpful for us internally at Workato, and I recommend this for other companies too. If you can have some degree of automations in the process of making sure, again, that you're filtering out the noise, you can actually have your hiring team, your HR team, recruiting folks, take a close look at what you're using to screen out or qualify candidates for, so that ultimately you can really infuse some degree of intentionality in this recruiting process here to eliminate any potential biases that could be coming into play if people were really doing this first screening round. So for me, I really like us to focus on really being intentional, again, getting that internal alignment on what is it that we want to use to determine qualifications for candidates so that we can be intentional and bring as much of the right people for the right job.
Right, and I know that actually reminds me of the story of how I've seen job postings where they have like unrealistic qualifications where they need experience, like 15 years of experience with a tool that's only been out for 10 years. So people like to put things like that. So in our next automation, you can actually automate the process of filtering out candidates if they're definitely not a fit for our job. Or you can use any criteria to really route the applicant to the right person in the process. So in this example, we actually have two candidates, Abby and Ellie, and both applied through the website and are automatically screened. As you can see, Abby makes it through because she has the right qualifications, and then her resume is sent directly to the hiring team in Slack. So this makes it so as soon as she applies, it gets in front of the hiring manager right away. Ellie, because she doesn't have the right qualifications, is marked as rejected in Greenhouse. And in that case, it's not actually sent to Slack. So in this case, you're actually able to filter while still tracking that you had someone apply through Greenhouse. So let's see how this would look like in practice. And so in this example, we have a very basic job application form, but I'm gonna fill this out. So I'm gonna do, Abby is applying, she puts in her Gmail and her phone number. And then we're gonna upload example resume. Let's say I referred her. Yes, she is willing to locate to Cupertino, and she has JavaScript skills and is interested in Workato. She could fill in additional information, but then she submits her application. Now let's also apply one for Ellie. Ellie applies, enters in her information. She has the same number, I believe, as Abby. And in this case, she is willing to apply, but she just says, like, I'm super excited about the role. And in this example, we just use a basic field here, but you can also filter on really any information. So both have applied to the role. So let's see what this looks like in Slack. Jesslyn, not to put you on the spot here, but are there any qualifications that you look for to be intentional about hiring candidates, or like anything else that you might look for?
Yeah, so certainly when it comes to filling technical roles, we do want to make sure those technical requirements are both called out in the job description and criteria, and then of course that the employees or the candidates are responding to those when they're submitting their applications. We also really try to bring to the surface, again, in the process of coming up with that internal alignment on the hiring team and with our recruiting team, we really like to make sure that we're just really defining what those key criteria are going to be. That way, in this particular part in the process, we can make sure that this initial screening is really pulling out that important criteria to make sure someone has what they need to ultimately be successful on the job. And it looks like Abby will be successful.
Yes, yeah, Abby actually came through, and you can see here are the details. And we've set up this workbot so it tells me what the position is for. I can have a link to the candidate details in Greenhouse itself, and I can show you what that looks like because it appeared on my other screen. And if we had fields for company and title, those would have filled out here. We also have a link to her resume, so as the hiring manager, I could actually go and review it directly here without having to figure out where to find it or go into Greenhouse itself. But also notice that Abby came through, but Ellie didn't. And that's because we set up some criteria where we were looking for people with JavaScript skills, and so that filtered Abby through. But Ellie just put that she was super excited and didn't actually write that she had JavaScript skills for this position. So just a very simple but powerful way to add filters to your process. And just to show what this looks like, this is the screen that came up. So through the link, I was able to see the information about Abby and see her resume. And this also takes a little bit of time, but if I occasionally, you'll see, yeah, so this did update quickly. So Abby was sent through in Greenhouse, but then Ellie was rejected, and then there's an email that was automatically scheduled. So you can see in this quick demo that you can actually set this up fairly easily and are able to set up these filters.